My husband showed up to our 8-year-old disabled son's brain surgery with his girlfriend and humiliated me in front of the entire hospital, saying I was too ghetto and emotional to be a proper mother to a special needs child. What he didn't know was that while he was planning to abandon us, I was planning to take everything. The alarm went off at 4:30 a.m. I'd barely slept. How could I? My baby, my Elijah, was about to have brain surgery in 3 hours. 8 hours of surgeons cutting into his spinal cord, trying to reduce the muscle spasticity that made every movement painful for him. Elijah has cerebral palsy, severe spastic diplegia. His legs don't work the way they should. Every step is a battle. Every movement requires 10 times the effort it would take you or me. He's been in a wheelchair since he was 3, and now at 8 years old, he was finally getting selective dorsal rhizotomy, a surgery that could change his life, or complicate it forever. The risks were terrifying. Paralysis, nerve damage, complications from anesthesia. The surgeon had been very clear. This could significantly improve his mobility, or it could make things worse. But given his current trajectory, I believe it's worth the risk. I believed it too. Anything to give my son a better quality of life, anything to reduce his pain. I'd spent the night in Elijah's room at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. They'd admitted him the night before for pre-op. He was scared, kept making the sounds he makes when he's frightened, little whimpers and moans. Elijah is nonverbal, has been his whole life. But I know every sound, every expression, every way he communicates what he needs. I'd held him, sung to him, told him everything would be okay. Mama's here, baby. Mama's got you. You're so brave, so strong. This surgery is going to help you feel better. You're going to be able to walk with your walker even easier. Maybe even run someday. He'd smiled at that. My beautiful boy with his daddy's eyes and my smile. The light of my entire life. Where was his daddy? Terrence was supposed to be here at 6 a.m. Surgery was scheduled for 7. It was now 5:45, and I'd texted him 3 times with no response. I got Elijah ready. Well, the nurses did most of it. Changed him into the surgical gown. Started his IV. He cried when they put the needle in. Reached for me, and I held his hand tight. Mama's here, baby. I'm not leaving. I'm going to be right here when you wake up. 6 a.m. came. No Terrence. I called. Straight to voicemail. Terrence, where are you? Surgery is in an hour. Elijah needs his daddy. I need you. Please. 6:15. Still nothing. The surgical team came in. Dr. Morrison, the neurosurgeon, reviewed everything one more time. The procedure, the risks, the recovery. I signed more paperwork with shaking hands. Where's Dad, Doctor? Morrison asked gently. On his way, I lied. Traffic. 6:30. They needed to take Elijah to pre-op. We really need to move him now, Mrs. Washington. We're on a tight schedule. I wanted to wait. Wanted Terrence to see his son before they took him back. To tell him he loved him. To be a father for once in his damn life. But we couldn't wait any longer. I walked alongside Elijah's gurney as they wheeled him toward the operating rooms. Held his hand. Sang his favorite song, You Are My Sunshine. He was looking at me with those big, brown eyes. So trusting, so scared. Where's Daddy? The nurse asked, because she'd seen Terrence listed as an emergency contact. He'll be here, I said, my voice breaking. He's just running late. We got to the pre-op area. They'd let me stay until the last possible moment. I kissed Elijah's forehead, his cheeks, his hands. I love you so much, baby. You're going to do great. Mama will be right here waiting for you. I'm not going anywhere. He made a sound, a questioning sound, looking toward the door. He was looking for his daddy. That's when I heard it. Terrence's voice in the hallway. "Excuse me, we're looking for Elijah Washington. Brain surgery." He said we. I turned toward the door, and my world stopped. Terrence walked in wearing a suit. A suit like he was going to a business meeting. Not his son's surgery. His locks were freshly twisted. He looked rested, calm, unbothered. And there was a woman with him. White, blonde, maybe 30. Pretty in that basic Instagram filter way. Wearing a cream sweater and designer jeans. She had her hand on Terrence's arm. Comfortable. Familiar. "Sorry we're late," Terrence said. Not sounding sorry at all. Morning traffic was brutal. I couldn't speak. Couldn't process. My eyes went from him to her to him again. "Terrence." My voice came out strangled. "Who is this?" "This is Amber. Amber Patterson. She's a friend. I asked her to come for support." Amber smiled at me. Sympathetic. Pitying. "Hi, Monique. I've heard so much about you. And about Elijah. I'm so sorry you're all going through this." The surgical team was staring. Dr. Morrison looked uncomfortable. "Mr. and Mrs. Washington, we really need to take Elijah back now. You can say your goodbyes." Terrence walked over to the gurney, touched Elijah's head briefly. "Hey, little man, you're going to do great. See you when you wake up." That was it. No "I love you." No real connection. Just a pat, like Elijah was a dog. Elijah made a distressed sound, reaching toward me, not Terrence. "It's okay, baby," I whispered, kissing him one more time. "Mama loves you so much." They wheeled him away, through the double doors, into the operating room. My baby, my heart, going into surgery while I stood there with my cheating husband and his mistress. The doors closed. Elijah was gone. I turned on Terrence. "What the fuck is this? Who is she? Monique, let's not do this here." "Let's not do what?" "Let's not address the fact that you brought another woman to our son's brain surgery? You want to talk about inappropriate places, Terrence? This is it." Other families in the waiting area were watching now. A nurse approached. "Maybe we should find somewhere private." "No," I said loudly. "He can explain right here. Who is she?" Terrence's jaw tightened. That look he got when he was annoyed, when he thought I was being unreasonable. "Amber is someone I've been seeing for about a year now. She's been helping me process everything. The stress of Elijah's condition. The strain on our marriage. She understands." "She understands?" "She understands what exactly?" Amber spoke up, her voice soft, careful. "I'm a special education teacher. I work with children with disabilities. Terrence has been struggling with the demands of caring for Elijah, and I've been providing support and perspective." I laughed, a broken, bitter sound. "Support? Is that what we're calling it?" "Monique, let's go to the family waiting room," Terrence said. "We need to talk anyway." I followed them because what choice did I have? My son was in surgery. I couldn't leave. Couldn't cause a bigger scene. Had to just deal with this nightmare. The family waiting room was half full. Other families waiting for their loved ones to come out of surgery. Terrence found seats in the corner. I sat across from him and Amber. Not next to them, never next to them. "Okay," I said, my voice shaking. "Talk." Terrence looked at Amber, then at me. "I'm going to be direct, because we don't have time for games. Amber and I are together. We're in love, and I want a divorce." The room tilted. "You want a divorce? You brought your girlfriend to our son's brain surgery to tell me you want a divorce?" "I know the timing isn't ideal." "Isn't ideal? Terrence, Elijah is in surgery right now. They're cutting into his spinal cord. And you're sitting here telling me you want to leave? This isn't about Elijah. This is about us. About a marriage that's been over for years." "Years? We've been married for 10 years. And the last 8 have been all about Elijah. All about his therapies and his doctors and his needs. There's no room for me. For us. You've made him your entire world and I've been pushed to the side. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He's our son. Our disabled son who needs constant care. Yes, he's my priority. He should be yours too. He is. But I also need to live. I need a partner who sees me, who cares about my needs. Amber does that. I looked at Amber. She had the decency to look uncomfortable, but she didn't let go of Terrence's hand. So what's your plan? I asked. You're going to leave us? Leave Elijah? I'm not leaving Elijah. I'm leaving you. And honestly, Monique, I think it's best for everyone, including Elijah. How is his father abandoning him best for him? I'm not abandoning him. I'm going to file for shared custody, joint physical custody. Amber's apartment is accessible. First floor, wide doorways. We've already started setting up a room for him. My blood went cold. You want to take Elijah? Take him from me? I want what's best for him. And honesty, your parenting style, it's too much, too emotional, too intense. Elijah needs stability, calm. You're always on the edge of a breakdown, always so dramatic about everything. Dramatic? My son has cerebral palsy. He can't walk without assistance. He can't talk. He's in surgery right now, and you think I'm being dramatic for being emotional? See? This is exactly what I mean. Everything is a production with you. Amber is trained to handle special needs children. She knows how to provide structure without all the ghetto dramatics. The word hung in the air. Ghetto. Other families in the waiting room were definitely listening now. I saw a black woman in her 50s give Terrence a disgusted look. You think I'm too ghetto to raise our son? Our black son? I think you're too emotional and too volatile. Elijah needs calm. He needs a parent who can handle this with grace, with dignity. Not all this loud, dramatic, over-the-top stuff you do. The over-the-top stuff like attending every therapy session, like learning to use his AAC device so I can understand him, like sitting up with him when he's in pain. That over-the-top stuff? You're twisting my words. No, I'm repeating them. You brought your mistress to our son's surgery and told me I'm too ghetto to be a proper mother. Do I have that right? Terrence stood up. I'm not doing this here. I'm going to get coffee. Amber, you coming? She stood too, touched my shoulder as she passed. I flinched away. I really am sorry, Monique. I hope Elijah does well. He's lucky to have a mother who loves him so much. They walked away, left me sitting in that waiting room with strangers who just witnessed my husband tell me I was too ghetto to raise our disabled son. The black woman who'd been watching came over, sat next to me. Baby, you okay? I shook my head, couldn't speak. That man is trash, you hear me? Trash, and you're going to be fine without him. I started crying then, really crying. This stranger held me while I fell apart, while my son was in surgery and my husband was getting coffee with his girlfriend. 8 hours. That's how long the surgery took. 8 hours of me sitting alone in that waiting room. Terrence and Amber came back after an hour, sat on the other side of the room, didn't speak to me, just sat there like they were the worried parents and I was the outsider. My phone buzzed constantly. Text from Terrence, I've already consulted a lawyer, filing next week. Don't make this ugly. Think about Elijah. Amber's place is fully accessible. He'll be comfortable. My lawyer says given your emotional state, joint custody is reasonable. Each text was a knife. He was already planning, already setting up a life that included taking my son. Finally, Dr. Morrison came out. I stood up so fast I almost fell. Mrs. Washington, the surgery went very well. Elijah did beautifully. We were able to accomplish everything we hoped. He's in recovery now. I sobbed. relief and terror and joy all mixed together. Terrence was suddenly next to me. Can we see him? One at a time in recovery. Mrs. Washington, you can go first. Terrence started to object, but Dr. Morrison's look silenced him. I followed her back to recovery. Elijah was there, so small in that big bed, tubes and monitors everywhere. But his eyes opened when he heard my voice. Hey baby, Mama's here. You did so good, Elijah. The doctor said everything went perfect. He made a sound, a happy sound, reached for me with the hand that didn't have an IV. I held him, careful of all the wires, and whispered, Mama's got you, baby. I'm never leaving you. Never. A nurse approached with paperwork. Mrs. Washington, we need to go over post-op instructions and schedule follow-up appointments. We spent an hour going over everything. Medications. Physical therapy schedule. Warning signs of complications. I wrote down every word, asked 1,000 questions. When I finally came out, Terrence was pacing. How is he? He's good, stable. You can see him, but only for a few minutes. He needs rest. He started toward the recovery area, stopped, turned back. Monique, check your email when you get a chance. My lawyer sent the divorce papers and the custody petition. It's all there. He walked away. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, opened my email. There it was. Petition for dissolution of marriage and emergency custody motion. I clicked on the custody document, read the words that destroyed me. Petitioner seeks primary physical custody of minor child Elijah Washington, age 8, special needs, on the grounds that respondent, Monique Washington, is emotionally unstable and unable to provide adequate care. Petitioner has witnessed multiple incidents of emotional volatility and dramatic outbursts, including an incident today, date of child's surgery, where respondent created a disturbance in a hospital waiting room. Petitioner believes minor child would benefit from the stability and structure provided by petitioner and his partner, Amber Patterson, a credentialed special education professional. He was using today against me. Using my reaction to him bringing his mistress to our son's surgery as proof I was unstable. And he was trying to take Elijah. The black woman who'd comforted me earlier found me in the hallway, saw me reading my phone, saw my face. What happened, baby? He's trying to take my son. Says I'm too unstable to care for him. He's using today as evidence. Her face hardened. You got a lawyer? Not yet. You need one. Today. You need a fighter. Don't you let that man take your baby. I called my sister Shanice from the hospital parking garage, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Nia, what's wrong? How's Elijah? The surgery went fine, but Shanice, Terrence brought his girlfriend to the surgery, and he's filing for divorce and he wants custody. He says I'm too unstable, too ghetto. He wants to take Elijah. My sister's voice went deadly quiet. He said what? I told her everything. The waiting room, the accusations, the custody petition. I'm calling Auntie Renee. Right now. Don't you sign anything. Don't you agree to anything. We're going to war. I hung up and sat in my car, in a hospital parking garage, and realized this wasn't just about divorce. This was about my son. My disabled son who needed me, who depended on me for everything. And his father was trying to take him away and give him to a stranger. Over my dead body. Period. 6 weeks after Elijah's surgery, I sat in my Aunt Renee's law office with a folder full of evidence that would destroy Terrence Washington's life. Elijah was doing remarkably well. The surgery had been a success. His muscle spasticity was significantly reduced. He was taking steps with his walker, actual steps, without the painful stiffness that used to make him cry. His physical therapist said she'd never seen such dramatic improvement, but Elijah wasn't the same emotionally. Something was wrong. Every other weekend, per the temporary custody arrangement, Terrence would pick him up for visitation. And every time Elijah came back, he was different, withdrawn, anxious. He'd refuse to eat his favorite foods, would wake up crying in the night, would make distress sounds whenever I mentioned his daddy. I tried talking to Terrence about it. Something's upsetting him during your visits. He comes back different. He's fine with us. You're projecting your own issues onto him? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're too enmeshed, too overprotective. But a mother knows, and I knew something was wrong. Then, 3 nights ago, I discovered what it was. Elijah uses an AAC device, an augmentative and alternative communication tablet that lets him communicate by selecting pictures and words. I'd customized it for him, added his favorite phrases, his requests, his jokes. What I didn't know was that it had a recording function, a feature that automatically recorded environmental sounds to help track communication patterns. I was updating his software when I found the audio files, dozens of them, from his last visit with Terrence. I clicked on one at random. Terrence's voice filled my home office. Elijah, buddy, you need to understand something. Mommy's not well. She's too attached to you. It's not healthy. She makes everything about her emotions, instead of about what's best for you. My hands started shaking. Amber's voice next. Your mommy loves you very much. But sometimes, mommies with special needs children get overwhelmed. They hold on too tight. Daddy and I can take care of you better. Give you structure, stability. Terrence again, you'll be happier with us, little man. Less drama, less stress. Mommy's always crying and upset. That's not good for you. Amber knows how to handle kids like you. She's a professional. Another file. This one from bedtime. Elijah, when the judge asks who you want to live with, you need to tell them you want to be with Daddy and Amber. Can you do that? Can you tell them Mommy makes you sad? Elijah's distress sounds, the whimpers he makes when he's scared. It's okay. You're not being bad. You're just telling the truth. Mommy's too emotional. Too much. You'll be better with us. I listened to file after file, hours of Terrence and Amber systematically trying to turn my son against me, telling him I was unstable, that he'd be better off with them, coaching him on what to say to the judge. Parental alienation. That's what Aunt Renee called it when I played her the recordings. This is abuse, Monique. He's psychologically abusing your son to win custody. We can use this. But Renee wasn't done investigating. She'd hired Marcus Jenkins, the same private investigator she used for all her custody cases. And what Marcus found was so much worse than an affair. And your husband has been stealing from Elijah, Renee said, spreading bank statements across her desk. What? Remember when your parents set up that special needs trust for Elijah? After his diagnosis, $150,000 to cover future medical expenses, equipment, therapies not covered by insurance. I nodded. Mama and Daddy had liquidated some investments to make sure Elijah would always be taken care of. Terrence is co-trustee, has been since it was established, and over the past 3 years, he's withdrawn $89,000. The room spun. $89,000? For what? Renee showed me the statements. Withdrawals marked medical equipment and therapy costs and accessibility modifications. All legitimate-sounding categories, except none of these match up to actual expenses for Elijah. Marcus tracked where the money really went. She pulled out more documents. Credit card statements, receipts, photos. $15,000 down payment on Amber's accessible condo. $8,000 in furniture for that condo. $12,000 vacation to Hawaii. You can see them in these photos Marcus got from Amber's Instagram. $6,000 toward Amber's student loans. $25,000 in cash withdrawals we can't fully trace but suspect went to lifestyle expenses. The rest to various purchases and payments. None of it for Elijah. I couldn't breathe. He stole from our son, from our disabled son's medical fund. Yes, and that's a felony. Theft from a special needs trust. Exploitation of a vulnerable person. We're talking serious charges. Does he know that I know? Not yet. We wanted to gather everything first. Renee pulled out another file. But there's more. About Amber. My stomach dropped. What about her? She's not a special education teacher. Not currently. She was fired from her last teaching position 2 years ago. Fired for what? Marcus spoke up from the corner where he'd been sitting. Inappropriate boundary violations with a student, a 7-year-old boy with autism. She became obsessed with him. Started telling the parents she should have custody because she could provide better care. Showed up at their house uninvited. Tried to take the child from school without permission. Oh my God. The school district didn't press charges because the family didn't want to traumatize the child further. But they terminated her immediately. She lost her teaching license in Fulton County. Can't work in any school in the county. So what does she do now? Works at Target, part-time, in the home goods section. She'd been lying, to Terrence, to the court, to everyone. She doesn't have credentials to care for special needs children, I said slowly. She has a documented history of inappropriate attachment to disabled children. And Terrence doesn't know? From what we can tell, no. She's been lying to him since they met. Told him she was a working special education teacher at a prestigious private school. He never checked. Renee leaned forward. Monique, this changes everything. Amber isn't a qualified caregiver. She's someone with a pattern of obsessive behavior toward disabled children. She didn't fall in love with Terrence. She fell in love with access to Elijah. The realization hit me like a truck. She's using Terrence to get to my son. Yes, and he's so desperate to escape the responsibility of caring for Elijah that he can't see it. He thinks he's found a partner who understands. Really, he's found a predator. I thought I was going to be sick. I have to get Elijah away from her. What if she... We're filing an emergency motion today, Renee said. Supervised visitation only pending the custody hearing. The parental alienation recordings plus Amber's history are enough to get a judge to act immediately. The emergency hearing was 2 days later. Terrence showed up with his lawyer, looking confident. Amber sat in the gallery behind him. The judge was Loretta Williams, a black woman in her early 60s who'd been on the family court bench for 20 years. She had a reputation for not tolerating bullshit. Renee presented our evidence methodically. First, the recordings. The judge listened to Terrence and Amber trying to turn Elijah against me, her face growing harder with each word. Mr. Washington, Judge Williams said when the recordings finished, "Did you make these statements to your 8-year-old disabled son?" Terrence's lawyer whispered to him, "Your Honor, my client was simply trying to prepare the child for the custody transition." "I didn't ask you. I asked him." "Mr. Washington," Terrence stood. "Your Honor, I was trying to help Elijah understand that there are different parenting styles, that his mother's emotional intensity isn't the only way. You told him his mother was unstable, that he'd be better off without her, that he should tell the judge he wants to live with you. That's not explaining parenting styles. That's parental alienation. I was trying to reduce his anxiety by making him anxious about his mother." "Sit down, Mr. Washington." Then Renee presented the financial evidence. Every withdrawal, every forged medical expense, every dollar traced to Terrence and Amber's lifestyle. Judge Williams's face went from hard to furious. "You withdrew $89,000 from your disabled son's special needs trust fund. Money designated for his medical care? Your Honor, I borrowed it, with the intention of paying it back." "Borrowed it? You're a co-trustee. You don't borrow from your child's medical fund. You stole from it. And used it for what?" She looked at the documents. "A vacation? Furniture? Your girlfriend's student loans?" Terrence's lawyer was frantically whispering, but Terrence ignored him. "Your Honor, Elijah's needs were always met. He never went without. Because his mother was using her own money to cover what you were supposed to be covering with the trust. Mr. Washington, do you understand this is a felony?" His face went white. Your Honor, I'm not finished. Ms. Patterson. Judge Williams looked at Amber. Please stand. Amber stood confused. You represented yourself as a credentialed special education teacher in the custody filings. Is that correct? Yes. Your Honor, I have experience. Experience is not the same as credentials. You were fired from your last teaching position for inappropriate behavior toward a disabled student. A 7-year-old boy you became obsessed with. You tried to convince his parents you should have custody. You lost your teaching license, and now you're trying to gain custody of another disabled child. Do you see a pattern, Ms. Patterson? Amber's face flushed. That was a misunderstanding. The family exaggerated. I have the school district's termination letter right here. Would you like me to read it aloud? No, Your Honor. You currently work in retail, at Target, correct? Yes, but no buts. You lied to this court about your qualifications. You lied to Mr. Washington about your employment. And you have a documented history of inappropriate fixation on disabled children. Judge Williams looked at Terrence. Did you know any of this? Terrence looked at Amber, betrayal clear on his face. No, Your Honor, I didn't. Of course you didn't. Because you didn't do basic due diligence before trying to place your vulnerable child in this woman's care. Judge Williams sat back. Here's what's going to happen. Full custody to Mrs. Washington, effective immediately. Mr. Washington, your visitation is suspended, pending a psychological evaluation and completion of a parenting class focused on children with special needs. You will have supervised visitation only, supervised by a court-appointed social worker, not Miss Patterson. Your Honor, please. I'm not done. You will immediately repay the $89,000 you stole from your son's trust fund. I'm referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for criminal prosecution. Theft from a vulnerable person is a felony in Georgia. Your Honor, and Mr. Washington, I've been on this bench for 20 years. I've seen a lot of terrible fathers. But bringing your mistress to your disabled son's brain surgery, stealing from his medical fund, trying to turn him against his mother, that's a special kind of evil. She looked at me. Mrs. Washington, I'm so sorry you've had to endure this. Your son is lucky to have you. I started crying. Renee squeezed my hand. Court is adjourned. Get out of my courtroom, Mr. Washington. And Miss Patterson? If I ever see you in a custody case involving a disabled child again, I'll hold you in contempt and refer you for a restraining order evaluation. Stay away from this family. In the hallway, Terrence tried to approach me. His lawyer held him back, but he was shouting, "You did this! You manipulated the judge! You made me look like a monster!" "You made yourself look like a monster," I said, my voice steady for the first time in weeks. "You stole from our son. You brought your girlfriend to his surgery. You tried to turn him against me. I didn't do any of that. You did. I'm his father. I have rights. You should have thought about that before you decided being his father was inconvenient." Amber appeared next to him, crying. "Terrence, tell her. Tell her it wasn't like that. We love Elijah." "You don't even know him," I said coldly. "You know the idea of him, the disabled child you can rescue. That's your pattern. That's what you do. But you're not rescuing anyone. You're predatory, and you're never getting near my son again." Security appeared. "Ma'am, we need everyone to leave." I walked away, heard Terrence behind me. "This isn't over, Monique. I'll appeal. You can't keep my son from me." But he was wrong. It was over. I'd won. And he was about to lose everything. 1 year after the custody hearing that changed everything, I stood in the lobby of Elijah's place, the resource center I'd founded with the restitution money Terrence had been forced to repay. The space was beautiful, bright, welcoming, accessible. Wide hallways for wheelchairs and walkers, adjustable height tables, a sensory room for kids who needed quiet, a playroom with adaptive toys, offices where families could meet with care navigators, therapists, and lawyers. We'd served 203 families in our first year. Parents of children with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, autism, spina bifida, muscular dystrophy, All the diagnoses that made parenting both beautiful and exhausting. All the families who needed support, resources, and community. Today was our 1-year anniversary celebration. The lobby was packed with families we'd helped, donors, local officials, and media. I was about to give a speech, but first, I just wanted to watch. Elijah was in the playroom with 5 other kids. He was walking, actually walking with his walker, no assistance needed. The surgery, combined with intensive physical therapy, had given him mobility we'd only dreamed of a year ago. He was laughing, making his happy sounds, as he played an adapted video game with a little girl in a power wheelchair. My son. Thriving, happy, safe. You ready? My sister Shanice appeared at my elbow. Everyone's waiting. I took a breath and walked to the podium they'd set up. The room quieted. Thank you all for being here, I began. A year ago, I was fighting for my son, fighting to keep him safe from a father who saw him as a burden and a woman who saw him as a project. Today, I'm fighting for 203 families who deserve support, resources, and dignity. I told my story then. Not all of it. I didn't want this day to be about Terrence, but enough. The challenges of raising a disabled child, the isolation, the financial strain, the custody battle that had nearly destroyed me. When my husband tried to take custody of Elijah, he told the court I was too emotional and too ghetto to properly parent a special needs child. He said I was unstable, dramatic, too much. And you know what? I am emotional. I cry at every IEP meeting when they tell me about Elijah's progress. I get loud when insurance denies his claims. I'm dramatic when I advocate for his needs, because that's what good mothers do. We fight, we cry, we refuse to accept less than our children deserve. The parents in the room started clapping. Some were crying. Elijah's place exists because I learned that I wasn't alone, that there are thousands of parents fighting the same battles, fighting insurance companies, fighting school systems, fighting family members who don't understand. Fighting custody battles with partners who see disability as an inconvenience. We shouldn't have to fight alone. I shared what we offered, free care navigation to help families access services, legal advocacy for custody cases and disability discrimination, support groups, respite care so exhausted parents could rest, financial planning for special needs trusts, so what happened to Elijah would never happen to another child. We've helped 203 families this year. We've won 47 custody battles for parents fighting to keep their disabled children. We've recovered $340,000 in stolen disability benefits. We've connected 89 families with proper care. We've provided therapy to 156 parents dealing with trauma from partners who abandoned them because disability was too hard. The applause grew louder, but I couldn't have done this alone. I want to introduce someone who's been instrumental in Elijah's place and in my life. I gestured to the side of the room. Daniel Richardson stood up, his daughter Maya beside him. Maya had Down syndrome and was 7 years old, with the biggest smile I'd ever seen. This is Daniel and his daughter Maya. Daniel is an occupational therapist who volunteers here twice a week. He's also my partner, my fiancé, the man who taught me that not all parents of disabled children run. Some of them stay, some of them fight, some of them love so fiercely that you wonder how you ever accepted less. Daniel came up, kissed my cheek, and took the microphone. I met Monique at a special needs parenting conference 8 months ago, he said. She was speaking about custody battles, and I was in the audience, a single dad whose ex-wife left when Maya was 2 because she couldn't handle a disabled child. I heard Monique's story and thought, finally, someone who gets it. He looked at me. We started as friends, just 2 parents who understood the exhaustion, the isolation, the joy in small victories that other parents take for granted. But it became more, because Monique doesn't just love Elijah. She celebrates him. And when she met Maya, she did the same. Didn't pity her, didn't treat her like she was fragile, just saw my daughter and loved her. Maya ran up to the podium and hugged my legs. I picked her up. She was tiny for 7, and she signed, "I love you" to the crowd. That's how I knew Daniel was different, I told the audience. When he met Elijah, he didn't ask me about his limitations. He asked about his interests, his personality, his favorite things. He saw my son as a whole person, not a diagnosis. That's what real love looks like. After the speeches, the celebration continued. Parents came up to share their stories. A woman in her 30s, her autistic son beside her. My husband tried to take custody last year. Said I was too overprotective. Your legal team helped me keep my son. We won full custody, and he's doing amazing. A man in his 50s. My ex-wife was stealing my daughter's SSI benefits. $30,000 over 5 years. Your forensic accountant helped us prove it. She's being prosecuted, and my daughter got her money back. A young couple, their baby in a specialized stroller. Our son has spina bifida. We didn't know where to start with care coordination. Your navigator got us connected with everything we needed. Physical therapy, equipment, insurance coverage. You saved us. Story after story. Lives changed. Families saved. Then someone unexpected walked through the door. Amber Patterson. She looked different. Thinner, older, defeated. She stood in the doorway, hesitant, like she knew she shouldn't be here. Security moved toward her, but I held up my hand. "It's okay. Let her through." Amber approached slowly. "Monique, I know I shouldn't be here. I know I have no right. But I needed to see what you built. And I needed to apologize. Really apologize." "You apologized at the courthouse. Right before the judge told you to stay away from disabled children." She flinched. "I know. But I've been in therapy. Real therapy. For the past year. Working through why I do what I do. Why I fixate on disabled children. Why I tried to take Elijah from you." "And what did you figure out?" "That I'm trying to save myself. I have a younger brother with cerebral palsy. My parents institutionalized him when I was 12. Said they couldn't handle him anymore. I never forgave them. Never forgave myself for not fighting harder. So I keep trying to save other disabled kids. Keep trying to be the person I wish I'd been for my brother. That's not an excuse. I know. It's an explanation, not an excuse. What I did to you, to Elijah, to that family 2 years ago, it was wrong. It was predatory. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you to know that I see it now. That I'm getting help. That I'm not working with children anymore because I recognize I'm not safe to be around them." I studied her face, looked for the manipulation, the performance, but all I saw was genuine shame and exhaustion. "What do you want from me, Amber?" "Nothing. I just wanted you to know that watching what you built, this place, this community, this family, it showed me what actual love for disabled children looks like. Not saving them, not fixing them, just supporting them and their families. You're doing what I was always pretending to do." "Where's Terrence?" Her face darkened. "We're not together. Haven't been since the hearing. Once he found out I'd lied about everything, he was done. Last I heard, he's living with his brother, working in a warehouse, still paying restitution. Good. He should pay for what he stole. He asks about Elijah sometimes, if he's okay, how he's doing. He won't admit it, but I think he regrets everything. He should. He destroyed his relationship with his son for nothing, for an affair that ended, for money he has to pay back, for a life he doesn't even have anymore." Amber nodded, turned to leave, then stopped. "Monique, Elijah is lucky to have a mother who fought so hard, who built all this. My brother never had that. He died in that institution when he was 19, alone. If he'd had a mother like you..." She didn't finish, just walked away. I watched her go, feeling nothing. No anger, no sympathy, just nothing. Daniel appeared beside me. "You okay?" Yeah, I'm good. You're better than good. He kissed my temple. You're extraordinary. That evening, after the celebration ended, Daniel and I took Elijah and Maya to dinner. Just the four of us. To our favorite accessible restaurant, the one with ramps and wide aisles and patient staff who didn't rush us. Elijah was showing Maya something on his AAC tablet. Maya was laughing. They'd become best friends over the past few months. Two kids who understood each other in ways typical kids never would. I want to ask you something, Daniel said as we waited for food. Okay. He pulled out a small box. Not a ring box. Something else. Inside were two necklaces. Each had a charm, a puzzle piece, the symbol for disability awareness, made of silver. I know we're already engaged, he said, but I wanted to give you and Elijah something, to remind you that you're not alone anymore, that we're a family, all four of us. He put one necklace on me, then gently put the other on Elijah, who immediately touched it and smiled. Maya has one too, Daniel said, showing his daughter. She was wearing hers, beaming with pride. We're a family, Maya signed. Elijah used his tablet. Family, love, happy. I started crying. Again. But this time, they were good tears. Healing tears. A year ago, I was fighting to keep my son, I said. Fighting a man who called me too ghetto and too emotional. Who said I couldn't properly parent a disabled child. Who tried to take Elijah and give him to a stranger. And now? Daniel asked. Now, I have a family that chooses us, that celebrates us, that doesn't see disability as a burden. I have a center that helps hundreds of families. I have purpose. I have love. Real love. You have everything. Daniel said, because you fought for it. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from Terrence, handwritten, no lawyer letterhead. Monique, I know I don't have the right to write to you. I know I destroyed everything. But I need you to know I've been watching what you built. Elijah's place. I've seen the news coverage, the families you're helping, and I finally understand what you were trying to tell me all along. Elijah was never a burden. I was just too weak to handle the responsibility. Too selfish to do the work. Too ashamed to admit I needed help. You were always the strong one, the one who showed up, the one who fought. I called you too ghetto for caring too much. Really, I was too cowardly for not caring enough. I'm not asking for anything. Not forgiveness. Not custody. Not even supervised visits if Elijah doesn't want them. I just wanted you to know that I see now what I couldn't see then. You weren't too emotional. I wasn't emotional enough. You weren't too attached. I wasn't attached at all. You weren't too ghetto. I was too broken. I hope Elijah is doing well. I hope he knows he has the best mother in the world. Because he does. And I hope someday he can forgive me for not being the father he deserved. You were always enough. More than enough. I was the one who wasn't. Terrence. I read it twice, then showed it to Daniel. What are you going to do? Nothing. He doesn't get to feel better because he sent a letter. He doesn't get closure. He made his choices. Now he lives with them. I put the letter in a drawer with all the court documents. Evidence of a man who chose himself over his son. And I went back to living my life. Our life. Mine, Elijah's, Daniel's, and Maya's. 3 months later, Daniel and I got married. At Elijah's place. Surrounded by families we'd helped. By people who understood. Who celebrated. Elijah was the ring bearer. Walking down the aisle with his walker. Daniel's nephew beside him for support. Maya was the flower girl, throwing petals and signing love to everyone. When we said our vows, Daniel added something unexpected. Elijah, he said, kneeling in front of my son. I promise to be the father you deserve. To show up, to care, to see you for the amazing kid you are. Not a burden, not a project, just my son. Because today, I'm not just marrying your mom. I'm becoming your dad. If you'll have me. Elijah touched Daniel's face, made his happy sound, then used his tablet. Dad, yes, love. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. 6 months later, Daniel legally adopted Elijah. Terrence had voluntarily terminated his parental rights. Couldn't handle the restitution payments. Couldn't face what he'd done. Wanted out completely. At the adoption hearing, Judge Williams presided again. "Mrs. Richardson," she said, "I remember this case well. Your ex-husband brought his mistress to your son's brain surgery. Stole from his medical fund. Tried to take custody, and now he's giving up his rights entirely?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And Mr. Richardson, you want to adopt Elijah, knowing he'll need lifelong care and support?" Daniel stood. "Your Honor, Elijah isn't a burden to support. He's a privilege to love. He's funny and determined and brave. He's taught me more about resilience than any able-bodied person ever has. I'm honored to be his father." Judge Williams wiped her eyes. "Adoption granted, Mr. Richardson. You are now Elijah's legal father. This is how it should have been from the start. This is what real fatherhood looks like." As we left the courthouse, Elijah held Daniel's hand on one side and mine on the other. A reporter called out, "Mrs. Richardson, how do you feel?" I stopped, looked at the camera. A year and a half ago, my ex-husband told me I was too ghetto and too emotional to properly parent my disabled son. He tried to take custody. He stole from Elijah's medical fund. He chose himself over his child every single time. Today, Elijah has a real father. A man who chose us, who celebrates us, who sees disability not as something to escape, but as part of loving a whole person. That's the difference between a man who runs and a man who stays. Between someone who performs fatherhood and someone who lives it, what would you say to other parents in similar situations? I'd say, you are not too emotional for loving your child fiercely. You are not too attached for prioritizing their needs. You are not too much. Your child is not a burden, and anyone who makes you feel that way doesn't deserve you or your child. Fight for them, build for them, and when the wrong people leave, thank God, because it makes room for the right people to arrive. We walked away, my family, my real family, and I didn't look back, because the past was in a drawer with divorce papers and termination documents. The future was in my arms, in Daniel's smile, in Maya's laughter, in Elijah's happy sounds as he walked between his parents. Terrence had called Elijah a burden. Daniel called him a gift. And that's how I knew we'd won. Not just custody, but everything that mattered.